This lesson is on SOL 6.15, which dealt with our measures of central tendency, which were our mean, median, and mode. So we're just going to kind of review what mean, median, and mode are right now and when to use each one. If you remember, we use mean when there are no outliers. And by outliers, I mean there's no high or low numbers. So we can even put that high or low numbers. So if you look at my example, all of these numbers are roughly in the same area as each other. So this is why we use mean to determine the measure of central tendency. So to actually find mean, we have to add our numbers together and then divide by how many of them there are. So you may use a calculator if you want to go ahead and start adding these numbers together and see what we get. So you should be adding these together now. And hopefully you got something about 38. I'll double check that with myself. And I got 38 again. So when we added them together, we got 38. So now to find the mean, I have to take that 38 and divide it by how many numbers there were. And there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to divide that by 7. Which is going to give me, it's a decimal and that's okay. I'm just going to round it to like 5 4/10. Or 5.4. So that would be our mean when we go to add or to find the measure of center. And we were able to use that, remember, because there were no outliers. There were no high or low numbers. They were all right there near each other. So then we come to median. And median is used when we do have some high or low numbers. When we have some of those outliers. And the reason we want to use median in this case is because think about your grades. You do bad on one thing and it plummets your grade. It makes it go really low. Had we used median, it might have just dropped a few points, not overall. So median. And if you notice, it can have some high or low. In this case, we have two numbers that are much lower than the other ones. So to find median, we order our numbers from least to greatest. So I have to rewrite them. So let's see, we have 2, 3, 24, 30, 34, and 35. So now that I have them ordered from least to greatest, we need to cross them out to determine which one is in the middle. So I'm going to cross one out on this end and one on that end. One on this end, one on that end. And I'm stuck with 2 in the middle. So when we have 2 in the middle, we need to figure out what's right in the between them. So we're going to add these together. So I'm going to do 24 plus 30. And then divide that by 2, which gives us 27. So our median in this case would be 27. Now our last measure of central tendency that we're going to use is mode. And mode is used when we have a lot of the same data. And by a lot, a good rule of thumb is that we have at least 3. Now obviously if you have 100 pieces of data, you should have more than 3 for it to be mode. But a good, like I said, rule of thumb is just at least 3. So we could use that one. Can anybody figure out what the mode of this actually is? So I'm looking at 114, 4 15s though, only 126, 120, 119. So we would say our mode is 15. And then the last part that we need to look at is mean as a balance point. I will nearly 100% guarantee you that on your SOL, you're going to have a question point or a question that asks for balance point or asks for average. If you see that, if you see balance point or average, you need to think mean. You need to figure out the mean of the data. Now, there's a couple ways to do that. One way would just be list out your numbers and actually figuring out. And by listing them out, I don't mean the numbers that you see. I mean the ones that have X's to show that we have that data. For example, we have a 4. We have 2 5s. There are no 6s, no 7s, but we have 2 8s. We have no 9s, but we do have a data. No 11s, but then a 12. So once we had our data written down, we could then find the mean our normal way. We would add these up and divide by how many of them there are. So we can go ahead and try it that way. So I'm going to do 4 plus 5 plus 5. When I added them all, I got 52. And 52 divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 gave me a 7.4. So not the best, but that'll be okay. We said decimals are not bad. And I'm sorry I give you one that won't be perfect, but we could still do it. Had we asked for it actually on the number line, remember, it's where we would take our data points and move them to the middle until we can't anymore. So it's looking to me that most of them should end up on 7 with maybe 1 or 2 on the 8, since our number is between the 7.4. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take this X and move it in 1 data point. Go down here and take this one and move it in 1. Come back over here, take that data point and move it in. And we're just going to continue to take whichever X is on the farthest on either side and move it in 1. And it's okay. Once you move one, you might have to mark it out and remove it again. But I always go, so I look, I've used up all the ones on the 4s and 5s, so I take the one on the 6 and I move it in. I've used up the 12, 11s, 10s, so I take one on the 9 and move it in. Oh, I still have some on the 6s, so I'm going to take one and move it in 1 number. I have one on the 9, so I'm going to take it and move it in. I have one on the 6 that I have to take and move in. One on the 8, I need to take and move. Now, so I've done it balanced. I started on this side, so I ended on that one. But if you notice now, my X's is just going to keep going back and forth. And so that kind of goes with my answer here of 7.4, because most of them are on 7s. There's a couple on 8, which means my number would be between 7 and 8. So just remember, if you see average or balance point, you need to find the mean. Think mean. You're ready to begin this practice.